Hello everybody, I would like to welcome you to our 24th video in the pre-algebra playlist. And in this video we're going to go over the divisibility rules. Divisibility rules will help you figure out if some number is divisible by some number. And in order to get a better understanding of that, let's first go over the definition of what it means for some number to be divisible. If some number is divisible by another number, then that tells me that my final answer will yield a remainder of 0. Basically, there will be no numbers after the decimal point beside the number 0. 15 is said to be divisible by the number 5 because when I perform the operation of 15 divided by 5, I get an answer of 3. On the other hand, 15 is not divisible by the number 9 because when I do 15 divided by 9, I will get a decimal answer. Similarly, 6 is divisible by the number 2 because 6 divided by 2 will give me a whole number of 3. On the other hand, 6 is not divisible by the number 7 because 6 divided by 7 will give me a decimal answer. Now these numbers over here, such as 15 and 6, are easy numbers to deal with, and you can easily figure out if they're divisible by some number or not because you have had a lot of practice with these numbers. But what if I ask you, is some number such as 529 divisible by some number such as 3? I'm not really asking you to find the answer of 529 divided by 3. I just want to know if 529 is divisible by the number 3. Basically, when I perform this operation over here, will I get a decimal answer or will my final answer yield a remainder of 0? So this is where divisibility rules come into play. So now let's go over a few divisibility rules. One of the simplest divisibility rules is that of the number 1. Any whole number, or basically any number out there, is indeed divisible by the number 1. For example, if I have something such as 529, like this over here, divided by 1, I will not get a decimal answer. I will get my answer as 529. Similarly, let's say I have something such as 69. 69 is an example of a number that is divisible by 1, because 69 divided by 1 will not give me a decimal answer, but it will give me the answer 69. Let's now go over the divisibility rule for the number 2. A number is said to be divisible by the number 2 if that number ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. For example, a number such as 76 is indeed divisible by the number 2 because the last digit in the number 76 is the number 6, which makes this number an even number. On the other hand, a number such as 99 is not divisible by the number 2 because the last digit of the number 99 is the number 9, not 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Let's now go over the divisibility rule for the number 3. A number is said to be divisible by the number 3 if the sum of all of the digits of that number is divisible by the number 3. For example, the number 118 is not divisible by the number 3 because 1 plus 1 plus 8 gives me the number 10. And since 10 is not divisible by the number 3, 118 is not divisible by the number 3. On the other hand, if you have a number such as 96, that is divisible by the number 3 because 9 plus 6 will give me a 15. And since 15 is divisible by 3, 96 is also divisible by the number 3. Let's now go over the divisibility rule for the number 4. A number is said to be divisible by the number 4 if the last two digits of that number are divisible by 4, or if the last two digits are 0, 0. Let's say you have some number such as 9999960. This is an example of a number that is indeed divisible by the number 4 because the last two digits of this number are 60. And since the number 60 is divisible by the number 4, this right here is an example of a number that is divisible by the number 4. On the other hand, let's say you have something such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. In this case, this number is not divisible by the number 4 because the last two digits of this number are 5 and 9, which is 59. And since 59 is not divisible by the number 4, this whole number is not divisible by 4. Let's now go over the divisibility rule for the number 5. A number is said to be divisible by the number 5 if that number has a last digit of either a 5 or a 0. The number 996 is not divisible by the number 5 because the last digit of the number 996 is the number 6 and not the number 0 or 5. On the other hand, the numbers such as 51260 is indeed divisible by the number 5 because the last digit of this number is either a 0 or a 5. Let's now go over the divisibility rule for the number 6. A number is said to be divisible by the number 6 if that number is divisible by both the numbers 2 and 3. The number 222 is indeed divisible by the number 6 because we know that 222 is an even number, so it is automatically divisible by the number 2. Also, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 6, and since 6 is divisible by the number 3, 222 is also divisible by the number 3. Therefore, 222 is indeed divisible by 6 because it is divisible by both 2 and 3. On the other hand, if I have some number such as 92, this is not an example of a number that is divisible by the number 6. This is because 9 plus 2 will give me an 11, and since 11 is not divisible by 3, this right here is an example of a number that is not divisible by the number 6. Now the divisibility rules for the numbers 7 and 8 are not really commonly seen in most textbooks. So you'll skip over them and we will go over the divisibility rule for the number 9 now. Similar to the divisibility rule for the number 3, a number is said to be divisible by the number 9 if the sum of all of the digits of that number is divisible by the number 9. For example, if I have some number such as 81, this right here is an example of a number that is divisible by the number 9. This is because 8 plus 1 is equal to 9. And since 9 is divisible by 9, 81 is divisible by the number 9. On the other hand, if I have some number such as 112, this right here is not an example of a number that is divisible by the number 9. This is because 1 plus 1 plus 2 is equal to 4. And since 4 is not divisible by the number 9, 112 is not divisible by the number 9. Let's now go over our last divisibility rule, and that is the divisibility rule for the number 10. A number is said to be divisible by the number 10 if the last digit of that number is a 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 0 is an example of a number that is divisible by the number 10 because the last digit of this number is a 0. On the other hand, 4, 3, 2, 1 is an example of a number that is not divisible by the number 10 because the last digit of this number is the number 1 and not the number 0. So that's it for this video. I hope you keep on working hard and I'll see you in the next video.